Think of all the roads, think of all their crossings. Taking steps is easy, standing still is hard. Remember all their faces, remember all their voices. Everything is different the second time around. Let's talk about Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman, the young lady who spent a year in a women's prison and wrote us a lovely book about it, which then Netflix made into a series. Myself, I am a big fan of the series, but it is very, very different from the book. Her whole MO in writing this book, which she talks about in the interview in the back, is that she wanted to write a book that showcases the more positive aspects of women sort of taking care of each other, the acts of kindness, the generosity, the support that these women are, offering each other in prison. They make it kind of like, it's about human connection and community and things like that. Because she notices that a lot of the prison stories that we hear about are more from, the men's prisons, and they focus a lot on the violence. I never saw Oz, but I saw Shawshank Redemption, which had a lot of violence in it. So she wanted to do something different. But, of course, Netflix came in and turned it into something that was a lot more harsh than what she wrote, which is kind of unfortunate. But they did also show some of the things that she wanted to show, so I guess it was kind of a compromise. So I like that she, Piper Kerman, shares my view that The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, will one day be the president. I've been thinking that for a few years, and I'm just waiting for that to happen. I think that'll be lots of fun. In her narrative, I like the way she switches back and forth from, anecdotes. Like, it's not all chronological. She sort of goes from, philosophically talking about the whole experience to sharing an anecdote back and forth in a way that felt kind of seamless to me, which I thought was nice. I thought it was good. The book read smoothly, I felt, for that reason. What I don't understand is why she's so well adjusted. She apparently just got along really well with people. She has to say oh, the staff treated me well because of my background, but she also got along with the prisoners too, many of whom were not from her background. So she apparently just got along with everybody. She said that the closest thing that she came to a fight was when some lady who who was sort of underneath her in ranking tried to tell her not to pick through the salad bar, but she had enough street cred on her side. She had backup, so she didn't. She took what she wanted out of the salad bar, and that was the end of it. But that was the closest to a fight that she got. So she just, I don't know. Apparently, she just did a lot of yoga and running and helping people with whatever she could, and just got along just fine, which is just kind of mind-boggling. But it's a nice story to hear. It's good to hear things that are not always the worst possible thing that you can imagine, because real life is generally not the worst possible thing you can imagine. And it's good to incorporate things like that, even in entertainment. Not all entertainment has to consist of the worst possible things that you can imagine, because, of course, what you put into your mind comes out in your life. So why would you want to watch a lot of terrible things and then expect your life to be great when you've programmed yourself with all these terrible things? So yeah, this is a nice book in that way. In the back of the book, there are a few different, resources. There's a bunch of things on justice reform. There's contact information for about a dozen or so maybe 2 dozen organizations um, to help people deal with justice issues. And that is now her career. She went on from her stint in prison to work in justice reform, which is great. Um, we all commend her for that. There is an interview back here with her, talks about why she wanted to write the book and what she wanted to accomplish with it. There are also questions for discussion. And yeah, I thought it was a pleasant read. She talks about how most people locked up today are nonviolent drug offenders, as she was herself. And while she does have a revelation of how much harm those kinds of offenses can bring into the world, she also, it's not really a proportionate response to lock people up for so long for these kinds of things, because it rips apart their families, makes it more difficult for the children of the incarcerated, which then sets them up, to have difficult lives and potentially fall into the same traps. And the topic of motherhood in prison was particularly devastating. She talks about it in here. Prisoners who are pregnant, they go off to have their babies and they have to come back without their baby. They can't nurse it or whatever, or much less be with it every day. So it's very, very sad. And yeah, I recommend reading this lovely book. And yeah, Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman.